guys? Andy from Birch. Today we're going to be going over the top 3 drills that I think are beneficial to all shooters who attend indoor shooting ranges. And the reason for that is because I know that not everyone has access to private land and a bunch of open space, or even a fish and game club where you might have more outdoor shooting space. So a lot of us are confined to the indoor ranges, and that's not a reason to not train and not get drills done. So today I'm gonna go over my top 3 drills that I like to do when I'm in an indoor range and how they're beneficial to you as a shooter. Before we get into that, I wanna cover a couple logistics because it's important to have all of your bases covered in the sense of ammo, targets, and how to exactly go about setting up these drills. So first of all, for ammo, I'm using a PMC 9G, just regular 124 grain 9mm, which is highly prolific in indoor ranges, and you can get it pretty much anywhere. For targets, I do like to use the USPSA cardboard targets because they're a lot easier to use pasties and cover up all your hits, and they have the A zone, C zone, D zone, all of that. But I also realize they're pretty expensive. They run about 50 cents to $1 per target, depending on where you shop. So what I like to do when I'm on a budget or in a rush is I will grab 8.5 by 11 plain sheets of paper. And not only that, but it also helps me diagnose some issues if I'm having trouble hitting the A zone. This is a little bit bigger of a target, so it's a little bit easier to hit. And for some people who are still learning how to shoot pistol proficiently, this is gonna be a lot easier to conduct these drills with. If that's too easy for you and you're still on a budget, I highly recommend you fold it in half and cut it down the long way. That way you have 2 A-zone shaped targets, and actually these are a little bit smaller than the A-zone. So if you really want to go for a challenge, then this is a great option because it kind of brings your groups in a little bit tighter and makes you really focus on getting those hits. For my pistol, I'm using a Glock 47 with a hollow stun SCS and a Streamlight TLR7 HLX on it. And you can use just about any gun. You can use your carry gun, you can use outside the waistband, inside the waistband, it really doesn't matter. But the important thing is that you're conducting the drills properly and focusing on the skills, not necessarily your equipment. It is a great opportunity to assess your setup and see if there's anything on your belt or about your inside the waistband holster that doesn't quite work for you. Now, when it comes to drawing for some of these drills, it's not entirely necessary, but if you're not going to draw, I highly recommend you go from the compressed ready and just take off about a half a second from your par times to make it a little bit harder. Some indoor ranges don't allow drawing from inside the waistband or even from outside the waistband, so if that's something you have to accommodate for, then just go from the compressed ready and take off that half a second par time. If you do go from inside the waistband, you can go ahead and add a half a second to your par times, since it is a little more difficult and slower to draw when you have to defeat your clothing and then draw and present. One more thing about where I'm filming today, so the lighting is a little bit better out on the range, so I'm gonna be conducting all of my drills standing out here, but all of these can be conducted from inside the booth, as long as you have something similar to Action Target, where the targets can be moved to a certain yard line. With those logistics out of the way, let's get into the drills that I really like to conduct. Number 1 is a great warm-up, and it's gonna be from the 4-yard line. You're gonna load a magazine of 10 rounds, and you can do it one of 2 ways. You can either use a black pasty as a fine point of aim to aim at, or a 1-inch square, but you can also do what's called the hole drill. So you're going to shoot a hole into the target somewhere where it's empty and you have some room. So I like to just shoot dead center A zone, and wherever it lands, that hole is now my target. What I'm going to do is fire these 10 rounds, no time limit, from the 4-yard line, and I'm going to really take my time and make sure that I'm getting my hits. What this drill is good for is trigger manipulation and discipline. It's going to really show you, are you pulling the trigger straight into the rear? Are you isolating that trigger finger? Or are you having some sympathetic movements with your support hand or even your firing hand fingers? This drill is a great warm-up because it gets your brain moving, it gets all those biomechanics figured out for the day, and it also can help you diagnose maybe some anticipation that you're having or some other issues, because that fine aiming point is going to allow you to see which direction those misses are going to be and self-diagnose. The important notes on this drill is that there's no time limit. Do it from the draw if you can, but you don't have to. You can go from compressed ready, but make sure that you're compensating for your height over bore. If you're using a red dot like I am, there is going to be a slight height over bore holdover, and where I like to hold is right at the top edge of that pasty or that 1-inch square. And for your hits, just hold right at the top edge of your last impact hole. And this drill is really going to drive home, like I said, that trigger manipulation, trigger finger isolation, and it's just an overall great warm-up. Threw that last one again. It was doing good up until that 9th shot. Got a little excited on that last shot, so I threw it again, top right, but overall, pretty good group. This was my 9th one, and that was my 10th one. So I had 8 shots, all in the size of about my thumb. So that's the goal there. That's the whole drill. You can also use a pasty like I did the first time, but you don't need one. You just need an empty space on the target. Super easy to set up. The second drill that I really like to do is the bill drill. This drill is going to be conducted from the 7-yard line this time, and there is going to be a time limit. The par times that I like to use for myself is going to be 2.8 seconds from the outside the waistband carry, or 3.3 seconds from inside the waistband. If those are way too fast for you, find out where you are by just giving it a shot and give it your best effort, and just bring it down just a little bit to kind of push yourself. But the important thing here is not the time, it's making sure that you're practicing the fundamentals, learning where you need to get better, and improving upon those skills. So how you conduct this drill is you're going to load a single magazine with 6 rounds. You're going to load it and make ready and place it in your holster, or if you're going from the compressed ready, just stand at the compressed ready. You're then going to present and fire all 6 rounds as quickly as you can into the A zone. This is where I really like using the USPSA sized target, because the A zone allows for a little bit of vertical motion of your recoil, but it still keeps it tight left and right. And if you can't use one of those targets, I highly recommend you try at least using the half 8.5 by 11. And if you're struggling to hit that, go ahead and use the full sized 8.5 by 11. The reason why it's important to use a smaller target on this one is because when you're trying to shoot as quickly as possible, you're gonna see a lot of issues come out with your grip slipping, with the way that you're pulling a trigger, a little bit of anticipation, or maybe even your stance starting to fall apart and that recoil kicking you back just a little bit. So this drill is great to diagnose a bunch of things. I really like to hone in on my support grip and my stance and make sure that everything is locked in where it should be, because if you're firing those 6 rounds as quickly as possible, it's really gonna start to break apart your grip and your stance. All right, so as you probably heard in the pacing, the first one, I overconfirmed the dot and then it kind of all sped up. So that was my first shot, and then these are my follow-on 5 shots. This is the group I'm looking for that I pushed because of anticipation. So again, this is where you can diagnose your issues. So for that first one, I demonstrated the fact that I was kind of letting the gun slip out of my hands, not really managing that recoil or that muzzle rise. And then for this one, I had a little bit of anticipation. My firing hand pushed the shot to the left a little bit. So use these targets to diagnose your issues and then correct going forward. I can still feel myself pushing it as soon as I'm about to break that shot here, and then the rest of the 5 fall in the A zone. All right, so 4th run, got them all in. Took my time a little bit, went a little bit slower. Still got it in 2.52, so happy with that. The last drill that I like to do is now from the 25-yard line. This drill is going to be a magazine of 10 rounds from the draw in 20 seconds into an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And if that's too easy for you, use the A zone or even use the half-sized 8.5 by 11. So with this one, it's going to be really important to drive home your draw and presentation speed. Go fast where you can and then slow down where you need to. So since you have 20 seconds to get out all 10 rounds from the 25-yard line, you need to speed up all of the parts of that drill that don't need to be slow. So that draw can be really fast, that presentation can be really fast, but then right when you're about to take that shot, make sure you're fully prepping the trigger all the way to your last wall, you're breaking that shot, and then you're resetting as quickly as possible, getting back on that wall, preparing for that next shot. You have about, with the draw included, you have about a second to a second and a half for each shot. So it may seem like a lot of time, but it goes quickly, and the important thing here is to pace yourself. What I like to do in between each shot is take a short breath and just relax a little bit and make sure that I'm breaking the shots when I intend to and I'm not going too fast or too slow. I like to try to fall in right about 18 seconds, 17, 18 seconds, because that means that each of my shots were paced properly and hopefully placed properly. So this drill is great to drive home both trigger manipulation from a distance and building that grip from the draw extremely quickly. All right, time was 14:47. We're gonna go down and check hits. It was a little quick, just showing you that sometimes I rush. So we're gonna check out how the targets are when I rush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are me as well. So again, I'm rushing on these. I'm still pulling some hits to the left here. Definitely need to correct that. So we're gonna mark these up with a Sharpie and we're gonna try it again. So it's important to learn from your past drills because now in this next one, I'm going to specifically address two things. Going a little bit slower. I had about 5 seconds to spare last time, and just keeping my groups a little bit tighter laterally. So taking my time, really prepping that trigger all the way to the last wall, and then breaking it with a good grip, good stance. All right, so still a little fast, 15.75, but the shots felt good and I was ready to break them. So we'll go check out the target and see how it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right in there, 8, 9, and 10. So got all 10 on the 8.5 by 11. As you can see, it is still a little wide from this shot all the way over to that shot. So I probably wouldn't have made it inside an A zone, which is why it's a really good starting point to start in this full-sized 8.5 by 11 from that distance, because it's pretty difficult to get all these in an A zone. But again, you can see my group is pretty up and down, north to south, tall and skinnier, so I did improve and I did take a little bit more of my time. It took about 1.5 seconds longer. So I like this run, and this is just a great example of how this drill is beneficial to you guys. I like to finish on this one because it kind of wraps everything together, where it's at a little bit of a quicker pace, but you're still working on precision. And you're also using a little bit more of a forgiving sized target. So even if you're getting tired and your fundamentals are starting to fall apart, you still might be finding that you're getting hits on the 8.5 by 11. But if you're a little more of an advanced shooter, highly recommend the A zone for this one. So that's pretty much it, guys. Those are going to be my top 3 drills that I like to run at indoor ranges when I'm kind of confined to some logistics, staying in the booth, having to use a movable target. I still like to work on my fundamentals. I still like to improve my skills. Let me know down in the comments what you guys like to do when you come to indoor ranges. Make sure you come to Birch Armory here in Dover, New Hampshire. Thanks for watching, guys.